Chef. You're ready, let me know.
Hey there folks, Wrel here. Today we'll be talking about lending more significance and reward to outfit play and territory capture in PlanetSide 2. There's been a lot of talk about there being no point to capturing territory anymore, no strategy to it, and most people point to the inability to cut off territory resources as being the main cause for it. But honestly, I think we can do a little bit better. Even if we were living back in the earlier 3 resource days where flanking territories was a thing, or even if we go way back before the lattice existed and where hex influence was important, there's still no point to capturing territory because there wasn't and is not any reward or consequence. You either enjoy leading your platoon or outfit in a tactical manner, or you don't. Without any real significance beyond just a love for the game, outfit and platoon leaders started getting burnt out. Zergs were and are oftentimes left uncontested, and organized play to many has stagnated. So my thoughts for adding significance and depth to outfit play would be accomplished through an outfit experience system, and the rules for earning it would be surprisingly simple. Outfits would gain experience at periodic intervals based on territories that they control. The value of an individual territory depends on how often that territory changes hands. In other words, safer territories would yield much less experience than the more contested territories would. This value would also be recalculated every so often, maybe 24 or 48 hours. This way, even if a base was highly contested one day, you don't want it to still be cranking out tons of outfit experience if it isn't under threat the next. Outfit experience does not take place upon a base's capture. It's only rewarded at intervals of ownership. So whether it's every minute or every 10 minutes, that would really depend on whatever makes the most sense to the devs. Bases that are left on locked continents immediately drop to a minimum threat level, meaning a minimum periodic reward if you own a base on that continent, but you are still getting rewarded in the background, and that's kind of a big deal. The caveat to all this is that your outfit also gains an amount of experience whenever you help defend a base that doesn't belong to your outfit. And what counts as a base defense would be whenever the territory control dips below 50% and then is brought back to full. And I know that sounds strict, but there are some reasons for it. Like I said, simple rules, but this setup attempts to make considerations for player behavior. Back when WDS Preseason 2 was a thing, ghost capping ran rampant, and the amount of actual fighting happening on a continent took a nosedive. The reason for it is because you'd earn points based on successful captures or defenses. Your faction would actually gain points as well based on how long the territory was controlled, but ultimately, individual rewards are more of an incentive than the nebulous construct of fighting for your faction. There was more to it than that, but the long story short is, if you reward behaviors that aren't conducive to creating fights, then you just don't get them. So the concept here would be, ownership of bases that are low risk aren't overly desirable, but at least they do hold some value. Bases that often change hands, the ones where the mainstay of fighting is usually done, would also be the hardest to maintain. So an outfit might see a spike in experience production, but could then lose it all within the next hour unless it's defended by tooth and nail. Because of that, I'm guessing that you're likely to see the bigger outfits gunning for those more heavily contested bases because they know that they'd be able to defend them more easily. This, in theory, would pit larger outfits against one another, leaving the smaller outfits with the opportunity to scalp the safer bases. Now remember though, since you'd also gain experience for defending a base that doesn't belong to your outfit, that means that you're also not hindering the normal flow of the game either. Public platoons and other outfits are still going to be rewarded for those last-minute base saves, and they're still going to be rewarded for playing an alert very close to how they normally would. Speaking of alerts, much like you would gain normal experience from alert contribution, outfit experience gain should be similar. Alerts would be the opportunity to shake up the map and get heavily rewarded for doing so. The more important element in this is that all outfits that participate in the alerts and outfits who defend bases in their normal play will also be able to gain outfit experience without owning territory. Technically, territory ownership wouldn't necessarily mean that you're getting more experience than other outfits who participate in the normal game flow. And that's sort of the point. You want to encourage fights while also rewarding territory ownership, and hopefully, you do it without creating too much interfaction turmoil in the process. So with all that said, Earning outfit experience should obviously reward you with something, right? My favorite idea would be to allow outfits to gain bonuses toward their specialty, as well as build up the bases that they own. By specialty, I'm referring to the outfit classification you show in the outfit recruitment pane. Also, to eliminate abuse, you'd only be able to change your outfit's classification once per week, for reasons that'll probably become evident later. Outfits will all have access to research trees that they can then invest in. With each outfit rank, you gain 1 point to invest. If at any point you want to reinvest your points, you can remove them at the cost of a level and your current level's progress. This is meant to discourage you from making decisions which won't really jive with your outfit. Additionally, your outfit rank should progress similar to an individual's battle rank, in that the early ranks are kind of easy to achieve, and then they require much more progress later. This would add significance to the later research tiers, and will help distinguish a high-ranking outfit from a lower-ranking one. Outfit research trees can be viewed as similar to talent trees in other MMOs, but before building on your specialty, you're going to be working through a couple of the more generic trees, which are open to all outfits. Each time your outfit rank goes up, you get to unlock something new. The first tier of unlocks would point more toward squad and platoon play, allowing things like supply drops, Sunderer drops, platoon insertions, and even orbital strikes if certain conditions are met. After investing a certain amount of points into this more general tree, then you'd be able to tier into a tree specific to your own outfit's needs, which at the moment is a choice between infantry, combined arms, and vehicles. Some unlocks would be flat upgrades, and other unlocks would be equipable on specific classes and vehicles. Infantry outfits, for example, could unlock upgrades like explosive protection for engineers who are in their turrets, or quicker resupplying of rockets to squad mates from your ammo packs. Light assault and heavy assault classes could unlock a weapon sling suit slot, which will allow them to wield a primary weapon in both weapon slots. Max units could be upgraded to allow spawning as a max unit instead of having to first resupply at a terminal, and you could even reduce the resource costs on utility and grenade types as well. Vehicle-based outfits could upgrade their lightning and their main battle tanks to have a coaxial LMG alongside their main gun, and Valkyries could insert into a defensive slot item that allows max units to ride along at the cost of 1 seat on either side. Maybe flash units could also equip vertical thrusters that would allow them to scale cliffs much like light assault, and that would go in their utility slot. And perhaps ESF could get a utility slot that allowed them to drop air-to-ground bombs every so often. Combined arms outfits would basically get partial access to both trees, whereas outfits specific to their classification could dig a little bit deeper. And if you really wanted to get fancy with it, you could have certain unlocks that are specific to your faction as well. So let's say that instead of your standard Aegis shield, you can equip a protective bubble that absorbs less damage, but has more coverage. Or the Prowler can transform into a mobile pillbox with additional protection instead of gaining bonuses to the main cannon. Or you could have VS Heavies who trade in their shield for a miniature version of the Zealot Overdrive engine. In addition to these trees, you'd also get a separate tree specific to building your base. Every few ranks, instead of at every rank, you'd be allowed to unlock a new type of improvement that you could then apply to bases that you own. The reason that this tree would be separate is because I don't think that you should have to choose between fun gameplay elements and necessary territory improvements. Most people would immediately choose the former, and that would kind of defeat the point. So ideas for base improvements could be things like air pads and vehicle towers that also heal nearby vehicles instead of just resupplying ammo. Or you can have shields around your base turrets when they're not being occupied. This way you aren't coming back to defend a base whose turrets are all destroyed. Or you could have your control points act as a sort of recon dart device that would ping nearby enemies while they're still under your control. Applying these elements would be done by outfit members or officers, and the process would be completely dependent on cooldown timers. For example, let's say that you've unlocked the ability to shield your turrets. Turret shielding is kind of a big deal, so it's only available every couple of hours. When the ability is off cooldown, you'd be able to choose a base to apply it to, and then the ability would go back on cooldown. The same would go for other abilities that you unlock, but their cooldowns are all tailored to that specific ability. So if I've unlocked an antivirus that slows down hacking attempts on my turrets and consoles, that's probably not as strong as turret shielding, so it'd probably go on cooldown much quicker, maybe, once every 30 minutes or once every hour. So just to sum everything up, outfits and organized groups are the shepherds of this game. They create the good fights, or they zerg and ruin them. They make the game tactical, or they make it lame and boring. But regardless of what they do, they aren't given any real reward beyond just the act of it. So the trick would be to find a way to align the goals of those players with the goals of the game, and you do that by providing incentives that point them in the right direction. Providing more agency over own bases, and adding new and interesting elements to the game, with an emphasis on tailoring those elements to an outfit's specific playstyle, that can create a more compelling experience for all players involved. If this video has been interesting, helpful, or entertaining, please feel free to like, subscribe, tell your friends about the channel, and if you have any thoughts on how this sort of system would actually play out, then let me hear that in the comments section down below. I've also linked a list of ideas for each research tree in the video description below, because that's what I do to entertain myself. Anyway, thanks very much folks. Wrel signing off.
Could use a medic here. Eyes on hostile transport here.